We have on Mr. Craig Ballantyne, who is known as the world's most disciplined man. He's sharing with us today all about discipline and how you can utilize it to go from good to great and ultimately achieve creative, time, and financial freedom. Let's dive in.
You want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Cary Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality.
Yee-yee. All right, my man, Mr. Craig Ballantyne. Welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast. I am super stoked to rock the mic with you.
Oh man, this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm happy, I'm hustling, I'm everything that you need today.
Let's go, baby. All right. Well, Craig, you are known as the world's most disciplined man, and you're the author of your new book, The Dark Side of Discipline, as well as The Perfect Day Formula, which I've read. Thank you for sending that. He was also the creator of the Turbulence Training Fitness System and owns earlytorise.com. You're an author, you're a speaker, you're a serial entrepreneur, you're a father, a husband, and a happy hustler, man. And I'm excited to share your wisdom on discipline, on entrepreneurship at large, and how to really create the three freedoms, which are financial, time, and creative freedom, which we all crave, right? But before we get into all that good stuff, Craig, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
So my hobby is collecting interesting people. And I don't mean like in a freezer somewhere. I mean, or like in my basement. I mean, like very much like you, before we started rapping officially here, you and I were sharing like, this guy, I know this guy. Yeah. This guy comes to your events. Yeah. I know him from way back. And I've collected a lot of people over the years, which is, I have this phrase that is everything in life is easier when you know more good people. Everything in life is easier when you know more good people. So like honestly, if you want to start a hustle, if you want to start a business and you don't know anybody, it's going to be hard because you're going to be like, oh, what tech stack do I need to do? Well, if you don't know anybody, what's your option? You go to Google and you read like 9,000 articles and you're still confused. But if you know a bunch of people, you go to the person who has a business similar to yours and go, hey, what do you use for email? What do you use for this? Okay, great. Awesome. Problems are solved. And it's how I've made most of the money in my life. And it's how I even met my wife is by knowing more good people. So I make a serious effort to connect with people, to stay in contact with people, and most importantly, to connect other good people together so that, value is added. And then more people get sent your way by doing that. So I think that's, a big lesson, a big writer downer. And that's something that I don't tell people enough about.
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, you see the super connectors
Hmm.
on LinkedIn that they label themselves, and it's hilarious because I've had a digital coffee with a couple of them, and it's so fake, man. It's just straight bullshit, like they're scripts,
Right. If you got to
They're,
label yourself that.
yeah, you can't dude. That's what I was just getting at. It's like if you label yourself a super connector, chances are you're probably not doing it for the right reasons, which
Mhm.
is very evident. It's more transactional, and people's BS meters are higher than ever. I personally probably make at least 2 to 3 personal intros with high performing like badass people daily, and I don't even think twice about it. I just, hey, you know this guy? I know this guy. And I do believe, to your point, it is like the secret sauce, largely.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
And I would like to share with people that I'm not an extrovert. I am not a schmoozer. I do not go to events and talk to 100 people. I do most of this through. I have something that I call an introverted networking system that I do this through. And most of I keep people's names in a Google document, and I'm daily in there like rearranging the columns and like trying to figure out who needs to know who. Like I kind of look at it as like a little puzzle. And then when I get somebody and I'm like, oh, I can't believe these people don't even know each other, and I make the intro, and one of them is like, man, this is really great. Man, like I'm so jazzed. So I get a lot out of it. But I just want to make a big lesson there for everyone is that if I said you got to network with people, there might be half your audience who went, oh man, that sounds like painful torture, because they have the tendencies like me that if you go to an event, you sit in the back row. I sit in the back row, like closest to the exit. Like I've always done that, but I still have grown a big network of valuable people, because when I do get connected with people, it's all about the adding of value and figuring out who they need to know to solve their problems. And the last thing I'll say on this is that there's a great book by Keith Ferrazzi called Never Eat Alone. Even
Hmm.
though I always eat alone. I mean, I eat dinner with my wife and kids, but I try and eat all my meals alone because I like to be alone. But in that book, Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, he says, the one line, like, if you know this, you don't need to know anything else about networking. It's ease their pain and help their kids. That's what he says. So if you can figure out how to ease somebody's pain in life, and whether it's through a connection, now you're going to become super valuable. And that's how most businesses are too. You're easing somebody's pain, and then help their kids. But this is like kind of a tricky one, because you don't want to know too much about their kids. You don't be like researching their kids or anything. But if they mention their kids, like my kid loves magnetiles or something, which is like, my kids have magnetiles and they're addicted to them. And it's like, oh, okay, well, send them a box of magnetiles. Like, that's how you get connected. Have you ever read John Ruhlin's Giftology books?
Yeah. Well, to be frank, I do the expedited version, like the
Oh
Blinkist,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah.
And I mean, his whole shtick. Unfortunately, John passed away last
Yeah, I
year.
know. R.I.P.
That's crazy, man. But his whole shtick was just out gift everybody, and you'll never really have a problem in your life. And
Yeah.
there's some pretty extensive gifting that he's done, but it's great. And it's just like, how can you gift value into somebody else's life? And by doing that, it really goes back to a cliche, which was a bad cliche years ago, but it's not what you know, but who you know.
Mm,
And but that can be a positive thing, because
yep.
I know a lot of people who have gotten a long way in life, not because they're like rocket surgeons or anything, but because they knew a lot of good people and they're in the right place at the right time.
Amen to that, man. It's the book by Dan Sullivan, right? Who Not How.
Yeah, that's
I
another good
mean,
one.
that is the concept that I feel like if enough entrepreneurs really expanded their network and figured out who knows the solution to your problem and serve them and add value to them. And I know these are all cliche things, but they're true, and they're cliche for a reason. It's digging your well before you're thirsty, right? And really building that network. I know we talked about Russell, mutual friend, and he talks about the Dream 100, right?
Yeah,
You have your Dream 100
it's
list. I
great
mean, Dana
exercise.
Derricks wrote the book technically, but popularized by Russell. And the whole concept is, how do you create a Dream 100 list of people who serve your perfect target avatar, right? And then you serve them. And it's just, again, like, I use this very quick example. Before I launched our book, The Happy Hustle, one of my Dream 100s was my buddy John Lee Dumas, right?
Mm.
You probably know JLD, I'm sure.
I was on Entrepreneur on Fire like 2011, man. Like, must have been
Oh,
like season number
OG.
one.
OG, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, John's come out on our Montana Masterminds, and
Oh,
he
cool.
he's a good dude. But we did a bunch of biohacking back in the day. But dug my well before I was thirsty with him. We were like, hey, come out, do this. I'll support you with this. Oh, you got this going on? And it was just pouring in. And then when I launched my book, I was like, hey, man, can I rock the mic with you on the pod? And it was like 20-minute episode, but he's got my perfect avatar of
Yeah,
entrepreneurs. And we did like, 60 something thousand bucks from this 20-minute episode just on the
that's
front end
amazing.
of books and courses that parlayed with it. And it's like, that would have never happened if you don't actually dig the well and serve on the front end selflessly. I
Man,
know
that's awesome.
that's the key piece, though. Like, you have to prepare not to get anything in return. And then
Right.
in when you do, it's just a bonus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and but there's also the intrinsic. I think you and I both get a kick out of it, and it's like, hey, like, there's obviously no loss if you at least get a kick out of introducing people, and if there's something that grows the business immediately, awesome. But it's a long game, and we were talking about Mike Geary before. Mike and I have known each other since
Yeah.
2006, so we're going on 20 years, so we've known
Yeah.
each other,
He's a stud.
and I mean, that guy's sent a lot of customers my way and a lot of advice my way. And, I, I've told him, he, I don't know. I've had 2 hair transplants, and one time Mike was asking, like, hey, tell me more about it. And so I don't know if he ever did anything, but I could serve him that way. It's just you never know how you'll be able to serve somebody in terms of the value you can give in
Right.
this world. And again, it's like that was like 15 years after I first met him,
Yeah.
and and that's what it is truly all about.
Yeah, man. I love that. Speaking of Mike, how many podcasts do you see him doing?
None, man.
Yeah.
That guy is the man who's making money in the dark.
Yeah. He's a true happy hustler. So, Craig, you're gonna love this. I convinced him to be on the Happy Hustle podcast. So, for everyone who is out there like, who the heck is this mystery happy hustler? Look up Mike Geary, Cary Jack on Google. You'll find the episode. It was
That's
awesome.
hilarious. How long ago was that?
This was like, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years
That's
ago.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, he's a great dude. Anyway, long story short, just connect people and really just pour in to your network as much as possible.
Hey,
Great
you know,
tip
you know
there.
what we need to address an elephant in the room, though. I think is that for you and I, we're be like, oh yeah, man, you're just gonna go and meet good people, and but there's so many, especially the younger folks, and
Hmm.
and maybe people who've had bad experiences or are starting over that are a little bit closer to my age. They're gonna be like, but I don't know anyone, or
Right.
I live in a small town, or all the people that I spend my time with, they're in regular jobs, or they don't have a job, or they're drinking buddies and stuff like that. So I do hear this a lot when I post about grow your network and add value. That a lot of people come back at me and say, I live in this negative world, and I do understand it because I don't have negative family members, but all of my family members are truck drivers, so they drive cattle from, Canada to America and, all over the place. And, so we're blue collar family um, by history. And so if I only hung around my family, I would be
Hmm.
like, I don't understand how you're doing this. Who are these good people? Where do you go? And for me, it was as an introvert, I started, before I don't know how old you are, but I'm a real old guy. I'm 49. And so I
35.
had an email newsletter. You're 30 what?
5.
35. Yeah, you're a young buck, man. I mean, so, when you were 10 years old, I had an email newsletter where I
Nice.
was interviewing people for my email newsletter. Now, I had a big breakthrough in 2000 when I got started writing for Men's Health magazine, which then allowed me to have critical credibility.
Mm.
But I don't think you need that in this day and age of podcasts and stuff like that. So you can be like a kid in your parents' basement starting a podcast, and you never know who you'll get. So if you send out like 1,000 DMs to like people like Dean Graziosi and um, Tony Robbins probably isn't going to come on your podcast, but you might get somebody with like 500,000 followers willing to come on your podcast. And then you better show up and do a darn good job of asking good questions and stuff like that, and recording well, and having good lighting and everything. But now you've just connected. Like, people pay like $5,000 an hour, and you got this person for free on your podcast. And then from that, you start getting other people, and you got to call your people if they're like it's not a good fit, or if they give you a bad feeling in your stomach. But there's a lot of good people out there, is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. And I don't know if you have any tips for people that have ever said that to you, but just understand there is a lot of good people out there, even if your circle is negative. You do have to go outside of your geographic area, which
Mhm.
is easier than ever these days, thanks to Zoom and whatnot. And eventually you got to get your butt to a live event, because that's where the brotherhood bonds are made for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Amen to all that, man. You know who's a great example of this recently is that kid on Instagram, the School of Hard Knocks.
Oh
He just
yeah, knocking on people's
Dude, he
doors and
just rolls up the kids, or I mean, to rich people
yeah,
with fancy
man.
cars, and he's like, "Hey,
He's
can I
probably
get
had a
a?"
few guns pointed at him.
Yeah, but he has amassed a massive following. He's got a
Sure.
school group that's doing 30 G's a month and bringing
Great.
in these people that he just walked up to with his phone and say, "Hey, can I ask you a quick question? Have you ever been
Right.
broke before?" So it's just like, now more than ever, you have no excuses to build your network, build your brand, and get the heck after it
Right,
and put the
man.
happy in your hustle in the process. So I'm all about it, man. I loved where we went in the beginning. I do want to parlay all this
Yeah.
conversation with the discipline required to get her done, but not burn out, right? And I
Yeah.
know you wrote this new book called The Dark Side of Discipline.
Uh-huh.
Tell us just first and foremost, why'd you write this book?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so, for years we've been teaching people effortless discipline systems, which, so there's like motivation and then there's discipline. And discipline, like people think it's like willpower and, like put a piece of chocolate cake in front of me when I'm starving and I'm going to have the discipline to not to eat it. But that's a horrible way to go through life. And, I'm not the world's most disciplined person. I would love to just sit around and watch TV all the time too. But I know I want to be successful. I know I want to achieve things, write books, coach people, grow businesses. And so I built systems that basically forced me to do the right thing, to make the right actions automatic. And by building the effortless discipline systems, we've helped people, overcome drinking, overcome pornography, start businesses, become more productive, get up on time, etc. And so that's where the magic lies. Now, the dark side of discipline is where you see people doing these online challenges and they got a million and one things they have to do over the course of the day in order to, check some boxes and stuff. And they get so busy doing that they let the good things get in the way of the great.
Mm.
So that's a small dark side of discipline. You're letting the good things get in the way of the great. Like you got to work out twice a day. You got to cold plunge. You got to biohack your way to, living 900 years old. Well, listen, man, if you want to do that, great. But if you also want to start a business, like those two things are not in alignment because there's not enough time to do everything. So you're letting the good, the biohacking, get in the way of the great, which is, becoming financially free, time free, and creatively free. So that's one side of it. But over the last few years, I've watched people go so far that they've lost marriages, that they've lost businesses, that, some of them have almost gone insane by chasing discipline. And what discipline is in most cases is what people see other people doing on their phone. So it's not even really a discipline to them. It's just another version of, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Back in when I grew up, keeping up the Joneses meant like you bought a house that was too big for you, too expensive for you. You had a car that was too expensive for you, and eventually you become bankrupt because you were trying to keep up and impress all the other people. But
Mm-hmm.
now the keeping up with the Joneses is I cold plunge, I get up at 5 a.m., I work out twice a day, I read a book a week. And it's like those are all good things. That's why it's like so contrarian and so counterintuitive that discipline can be a bad thing and have a dark side. But if you're chasing all of those things and you let it get in the way of, financial freedom, building your business and putting the time in that you need, or your relationships, which has happened to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on, as I explained this on the podcast I've been on, more than one guy has said to me, man, I wish you had written this book 5 years ago because, a couple of years ago I was in this challenge thing and my wife said, hey, we're going to the beach with the kids. And I said, I can't go because I got to do my second workout. And she, I slept on the couch that night. I like, and it sounds so like ridiculous, right? To you and I, but when the guys are in it, they don't see how ridiculous they're acting in this pursuit of discipline.
Yeah.
So that's why I wrote the book, because I've had friends lose marriages and I
Mm.
don't want people's pursuit of the good to get in the way of the great and for them to sacrifice and suffer the dark side of it.
Yeah, man, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, like, I think Jocko Willink wrote that book, Extreme Ownership,
Yeah.
discipline equals freedom.
And it's true to a point.
I do, and that's what I was going to say. Like, I do believe it's true to a point. I do think the good does get in the way of great when it comes to discipline. Oftentimes, it's required to be quote unquote successful, in my opinion, to have discipline. I'm sure you would agree,
Mhm.
but there is a fine line. And I know you talk about like the one North Star decision required to actually achieve your results faster and get back on track whenever those obstacles get in your way. And I think that is going to be helpful for the happy hustlers out there. It's like, okay, this sounds great in theory, like, but how do I actually have that effortless discipline? How do I make sure that I stay on track when I do drift off, but not go too far overboard? And I do believe the North Star can help. Can you just define terms for us there?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that thin line there for a second first. So discipline for me was my savior when I was a binge drinker, when I had anxiety attacks, when I was very introverted by nature and used it as an excuse to not go out and achieve my dreams. And so discipline of building the systems to, not be around toxic people and to get out of drinking environments, like it was my savior up to a point. And then I got so obsessed with like exercise streaks. I exercised 1,000 days in a row. But
Damn.
for
Yeah.
what point, right? Like it's so stupid. You don't need to exercise 1,000 days in a row in order to get amazing results. But I sacrificed things. And so I lived the book in order to write the book. I swung the pendulum way too hard in one direction and, had to come back to the center. So how did I get out of that? Well, it was by stepping back and doing the hardest thing of all, because, everybody these days, they want to post about, that they're doing hard things, on the internet. I do a 30-second cold shower. It's a hard thing. It's like, okay, whatever. I lived in Mexico. I watched, these workers down there work in 35 degrees Celsius, was probably like 90-degree Fahrenheit weather, 90% humidity, and they worked outside for 10 hours a day. That's a hard thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. How
Cold
about going
shower
to
for 30
war?
seconds.
Hard thing.
Yeah. Like cold shower for 30 seconds. That's not a hard thing. That's
Right.
like such a white woman thing to say. No
Yeah.
offense to
Yeah.
white
First
women,
world
but
problems.
right. Exactly. Oh, hard thing. Anyway. So, everybody's, posting about the hard things that they do, whether it's a ice bath or whatever. And the hardest thing to do of all for us with first world problems is to stop, step back, and think about what we really want in life. And then build a plan to pursue that at the expense of what everybody else is doing on the internet, right? So if everybody's going this way, following the crowd is the easy thing to do. There's no discipline in following the crowd. There is discipline in you saying, but the goal that I seek is not in that direction. Like for me, I'm not a biohacker. I'm everything but a biohacker. I take like one supplement, and instead of like, I see people with boxes of supplements, I just don't think that it's necessary. But if I was going to follow the crowd, I'd be like, oh, I see this guy and I saw Grant Cardone with like all of his supplements on the internet, man, I got to take all the supplements on the internet. No, you don't, in my opinion. But that's me doing critical thinking about, is this necessary or sufficient for me to be successful? And to me, it's not. I know my family genetics. I know that I don't drink. I'm not obese. I don't do drugs, and I don't smoke cigarettes. Those are the four horsemen of the apocalypse for you.
Right.
And I don't do any of those. And it's basically, don't do those things and your genetics. And that's 99% of the game.
Yeah.
So,
And eat whole foods.
right.
Shocker.
Right. Yeah.
Move that ass and eat whole foods.
And it's 80-20, man. The 80-20 principle. 20% of your efforts give you 80% of the results. And because you can't do everything.
Right.
You can't do everything. Ben Greenfield, God bless him. There's so many things on his list. I just can't. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then I would be so stressed out by doing those things. It would counteract, all the benefits of it. So the hardest thing to do is to step back and identify where your North Star is, your personal finish line in your race. And then you go and run your own race, and everyone else be damned. And that's the secret sauce to life. And, in the book, it's kind of a joke, but it's not a joke, that we refer to Charlie Munger as the world's most disciplined man. And if anybody's familiar with Charlie, who passed away at 99.9 years old, a billionaire, mentor to Warren Buffett, and a man who made millions of people, maybe not millions of people, but tens of thousands of people rich through Berkshire Hathaway. He didn't do any of that stuff. But what he did is he was comfortable in his own skin. He knew what he wanted to do. And he went out there and, he said no to most of the things in life and stayed focused on what mattered. There's so many great stories about Charlie Munger. I mean, this guy was, again, he was a billionaire. He was on the board of Costco. So he had to go to board meetings for Costco. And he flew economy on Alaska Airlines until he was like 92 years old.
Oh, jeez.
And he was so proud of his 40. He used to buy $50 shirts, but then he found the same quality for $40.
Damn.
And his watch was worth $30. And he's the complete antithesis of everything that is on Instagram today. But you know what he had? Everything that a man wants: money, power, and respect. And he had time freedom, financial freedom, creative freedom, and his network was massive.
Yeah.
And he did none of the things that people say you have to do in order to be successful. I mean, the thing that he did, to be fair, is he did reading and he thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it, man.
The lost art of reading and thinking. Whoa,
Man.
what a concept, right?
Right.
I mean, Yeah, it's so sad to me because I never claim to be the guru of shit, just like the reporter of like, here's what's working for me and maybe give it a go, you know.
Yeah.
But like I know personally when I am scrolling on social media for too much time, now I have obviously parameters. So like, but back when I was doing it, like that's one of the things with discipline. I just put an hour cap on all social media every
Right.
single
That's a
day.
system. That's a system though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before I did is my point, like I just felt like shit about myself and about my productivity. And when you get into this consumer mentality, you stop being a producer. And it's very easy to do that now because we're outgunned with this mammalian brain from these tech nerds in Silicon Valley, make everything so addicting.
That's
And
what I tell people all the time
yeah,
is, you shouldn't be ashamed of the fact that, your phone beats you today, right? Like, let's say like you go 100 days in a row, you're doing great. And then one day your phone beats you because, maybe you're at the airport too long and you had a flight delay and you scrolled. It's, it's 100,000 PhDs from MIT every
right.
single morning wake up with their number one job in life is to make you addicted to your
I
phone. And if
know.
you think that you're just going to like out willpower them,
Yeah.
man, you got another thing coming. And here's the thing is, even when you have the boundaries and guardrails as you and I do, picking up that phone, there's something in our I think our Neanderthal brain about like wanting to be part of the tribe. I
Right.
think that's what drives us to do these discipline challenges, 100 push-ups in 100 days, cold plunging, etc. We see these people doing it. There's I don't know if I'm pronouncing this guy's name right, but there's a guy named like Ogi Baylofs or something. He's like from Iceland and he's a student in California, either at USC or Stanford. And he's got these very viral ice bath videos where he gets in an ice bath with these really cute college girls. And I mean, I think the video has been watched 100 million times. And, he goes under the water. But it's so funny because the girls are in the ice bath and they're barely up to their waists, and it's like ice bathing has become such a joke, right? That oh, this girl's in an ice bath because it's up to her hips, and it's all so ridiculous. But we see that, and we think, man, I got to do an ice bath because I can put it on social media and I can get some light. And it's like everybody's really just after a dopamine hit,
Mm.
and this even works on me. Like, you know who Chris Bumstead is?
Bodybuilder guy.
Bodybuilder guy.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So I didn't know who he was either until like about a year ago. And he was competing, and Alex Hormozy had some posts with
Oh
him.
yeah. Yeah. Alex had him on there. Yeah.
And, he's got a mustache like Tom Selleck. So he's very, memorable. But he also won this like competition 7 years in a row. Something, it wasn't the main Olympia, but it was like the natural one or something underneath it. And I see Chris Bumstead and I go, man, you know what? Maybe I should start natural bodybuilding. I'm like, I'm 49 years old with beat up shoulders. I have 3 kids under the age of 3. I run multiple businesses, and I think that I should start natural bodybuilding because I see this guy who's done an amazing thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is the dark side of discipline. I'm not looking at pornography. I'm not watching, binge watching another Netflix show with a bag of chips in my hand. I'm looking at a man who's the pinnacle of bodybuilding, and he eats well and all this stuff. And I'm thinking I should do that. And so it's good.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming. But I have to tell you, the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquire skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and helping you to increase your conversions guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that the Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available, because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode.
But it gets in the way of everything else in my life, which is great. And I don't have the time for it. But my brain says, look at all the respect he's getting. And that will elevate you in the tribe. And that will give you safety, because you will not be kicked out of the tribe. Because, years ago, the whole theory is if you got kicked out of the tribe 10,000 years ago, you're going to starve to death.
Right.
And so we always want to be part of the tribe.
Right.
And that's why running your own race and not following the crowd is so hard.
Yeah.
But when you don't, it's so right.
Oh, dude, listen, that's why I love Montana. Just straight up. I'm out here, I go fly fishing when I want to go fly fishing. I go back country in the wilderness on my horse, bow hunting. I do all the things that I love to do. And then I monetize it by taking other people doing the fun shit that I like, and it's been the most beautiful blessing. I did think I had to wear the tech entrepreneur, grind my face off. That's how I burnt out. Everyone who has watched the show even just a little bit probably knows a little bit of the backstory. But man, I didn't run my own race in the beginning. I just thought I want profit, power, success, ego, all the things society deems important. And then when you have some of those things, you actually realize, whoa, this isn't very fulfilling. I sacrificed my faith, my family, my fitness, my fun in the process. And oh, by the way, we're going to die. And what are you going to show for it? Not any of this materialistic crap. It's all going to go by the wayside. It's your memories and your relationships that matter, right?
And then the total irony is, like, you figure out, oh wow, there is a way that I can also have this stuff doing the thing,
right.
And man, like if
That's
I could go back and, if I could go back and bestow something upon myself, it would be to understand, to be comfortable in my own skin. And I first heard that when I was a personal trainer in Toronto around 2000, when I was starting my business and stuff. And I had this client who was the CEO of a retail company, but his brother was a lawyer. And in Toronto, there's a place called Bay Street, which is like New York's Wall Street. And so 25 years ago, this guy said to me, my brother, who's a lawyer on Bay Street, he bikes to work every day from this really rich area called Forest Hill, and he would bike downtown to Bay Street. And 25 years ago, like if you were biking to work as a rich person, you were insane. Like it was about 2015, biking became a little more popular and stuff, and like cycling and, saving from, not driving a car, etc. But in 2000, you were insane to do that.
Yeah.
But here's this guy who was so comfortable in his own skin that he did that. And he was like, to the heck with everybody else. This is what I want to do. This is how I live my life. And man, if I could give that gift, that's a gift we want to give our kids, is like, be comfortable in your own skin. Yeah. If I could give that gift to the young, particularly the young men watching this, man, it would save you from so much heartache, heartbreak, Sunday morning, post-drinking headaches, because you wouldn't go out and be doing stupid things. You would be doing stuff that inside of you is the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be more valuable. So everybody write that down. Just learn how to be comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah. Yeah. Unapologetically yourself is how I like to phrase it. I really do believe that is one of the most beautiful key ingredients to happy hustling your dream reality. But I do want to talk more tactics, because I really love to give the audience like things that they can tangibly grab onto and implement to enrich their reality right away. Let's talk, personal standards of excellence and really the key 3 things that you recommend anyone out there right now listening or watching this is like, okay, we talked about, some of these standards of excellence and these barriers, but give us some of the key 3 that you really lean into that will enrich anyone's reality who implements them.
Well, first of all, I think implementing these effortless discipline systems is going to be really helpful. And it's very simple. Okay. So we want to keep things as simple as possible. But if you have bad habits and you want to replace those bad habits with good habits, here's what you need to do. Number 1 is you need to do elimination. Number 2, you need to do better preparation. And number 3, you need to have connection. So let me walk you through this. Yeah. I used to be a binge drinker, and I didn't want to be a binge drinker. And it was very hypocritical to my life, because I was a personal trainer during the week and an online fitness expert selling my programs. And then on Saturday, I would binge drink And that hypocritical life, was a huge component and contributor to my anxiety attacks, where I went to
Mm,
the emergency room, thinking I was having a heart attack at age 29. It's ridiculous.
mm,
And so I needed to get out of that. And so it was elimination first. And I eliminated the toxic people from my life, the people that only
yep.
existed to drag me into drinking. I eliminated myself from toxic environments. So I stopped going to bars on the weekend and I stopped going to sporting events. Now, you don't, I'm not saying you can never go to a bar again. Like I can go to a bar today because I'm a non-drinker. I'm not a person who drinks alcohol. It's just my identity and my personal standards. So I can go to any bar in any, I go to a nightclub in Vegas and I wouldn't drink because I'm not a drinker. That's my identity. So you can get back to it and have a blast living life. But for a time, if you're a drinker that doesn't want to be a drinker, you do have to eliminate yourself from those places. And then the third thing is eliminate the toxic temptation from your life. So, don't have alcohol in the house and don't go to places that have alcohol. So that's the elimination side. And you can do that with your phone, by setting up apps and boundaries on your phone. If you use your phone too much, pornography, same thing. You can block the websites, you can block the people who send you links or whatever. You can block that world. And then on the flip side, if you want to, when you have to remove a bad habit, you have to put in a good habit. And we want better preparation than ever before.
Mm,
So if you've ever struggled to achieve a goal and then you achieved it, what was the missing link? You finally did like professional level of planning and preparation, whether it was losing weight
mm,
or
mhm.
whether it was writing a book or whatever. Like what worked is you prepared better than ever. And everything that we look at as great in this world, whether it's a movie, whether it's a musical performance, whether it's a sporting performance, all of that was birthed by genius levels of planning and preparation, right?
Mhm.
Nobody goes up and wings an HBO comedy special. It's not like, Chris Rock's
Right,
like, I don't have any jokes, but I'm just going to go and film it. Like, no, that's not how it happens, right?
right.
You plan and prepare. So you do the planning and preparation. You make the path to success as easy as possible. And then with the bad habit, you put as much friction in the way of you doing the bad thing. And that's how you flip your habits. And then the third component of this, which is the missing link, because most people know how to do those two things, but it's that connection. And the connection means accountability. So there's two ways to have accountability, because if you have accountability in your life, it will, like, you will finally follow through. You will finally change your life. And the first way is to have accountability to an individual that you deeply do not want to disappoint.
Mm,
An individual. So, it might be one of your friends that you look up to as a big brother. It might be a mentor. It could be a teacher. It could be a family member, a brother, father. And you tell this person, I'm going to do XYZ by ABC. I'm going to do this by this date. Hold me to it. And if you don't want to let that person down, you will move mountains in order to finish it. And for me, that was the game changer when I wanted to stop being introverted, and when I wanted to, overcome my anxiety, and when I wanted to become a better speaker, and all these things. I told people that I didn't want to disappoint what I was going to do, and I followed through. Now, the other thing that you can do, and you do a lot of this, is you can have the community aspect, where
mm,
an individual tells a group of people, like, hey, everybody, next meeting that we're going to do for our mastermind or next coaching event or, whatever, I'm going to come back and I'm going to have my book written. And if you're a person of integrity, you're
yep.
not going to show up at the next meeting not having that thing done.
True.
And I use this all the time. I use this to write my last book, The Dark Side of Discipline. I told all my coaching clients, I started writing on January 1st of 2024. I told them the first draft was going to be done March 16th of 2024. Now, it was ugly, but it was done.
Right.
And I've told people, that I was going to stop swearing. In 2011, I told my email list of 150,000 people, I'm done swearing. And I stopped swearing in 4 days.
Well, here I am swearing like a sailor. Sorry
I
to
don't, I, I don't
influence
care. I'm
you.
swearing in my head. I'm just not swearing out loud.
Okay, fair.
That's the key. And I'm not offended by it. I just took it as a personal challenge because, I said, I never swear when I'm on stage, because I never did. And I've never sworn in front of my mother, which means I can control it.
Mm,
Therefore, why am I cursing like a sailor to impress my friends?
mm,
And then it's like, hey, listen, people think like, oh man, but you're way funnier if you swear. Well, I mean, some of the top comedians in the world do not curse in their shows, like that Bill B guy. I forget his name, but there's Bill Burr, maybe I think is his
no,
name.
no.
He
Bill
doesn't
Burr
swear.
swears.
Oh, does he?
Oh,
Well, then, oh, I know Gaffigan doesn't, or whatever is
I think
like.
that Nate Bargatze guy doesn't.
There's a few guys that
Yeah.
don't, and they're like pretty high up. And so it's like, okay, well, listen, if they can do that, and if a pastor can, mesmerize 10,000 people at a mega church by not swearing,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and Martin Luther King didn't have any swear words in his, I have a dream, so
Oh
people
yeah.
can move people. So, I did that, but it was all because I told people. And
Right.
then when you tell people, like if I go around and start swearing, people be like, huh, he said he didn't. Now he does. So he must not be trustworthy.
Right.
And,
Lack of
and you don't
integrity.
want to lose that. So
Yeah.
you get the elimination, preparation, and connection. And man, you can really change your life fast that way.
Mm-hmm. Man. Yeah, well said. I mean, the elimination is huge. I remember back in the biohacking days, speaking of which, one of the first things we did with our high performing clients was just an elimination diet, figuring out,
Mhm.
what's not working. And then you slowly stack things back in, which is back to the preparation piece, which is, figuring out what are those healthy habits that you need to achieve the desired outcome. And then the connection, that's huge for me. I think that public accountability piece, you'll probably dig this. One thing in our Happy Hustle Club, it's our, high performing, heart centered entrepreneurs that really care about putting happy in their hustle, which means
Mhm.
crushing it personally and professionally. As
Mhm.
we say, systematically harmonizing ambition and well being is the definition of happy hustling.
Love it.
And one of the things we do that's pretty unique, and we've been doing it for years, is everybody, as a part of their annual investment, they have an ante per meeting per month. So they have their personal and professional goals listed in 2-week blocks, and every meeting we check in. And if you did your goals, great, you get to split the pot earnings at the end of the month,
Hmm.
which is made up of the pot. Which is made up of the guy's money who didn't do their goals, right?
I
So
see.
every single month there's like, a couple of G's at stake. It's,
Yeah.
nothing crazy, but it's still fun to have some cash in the game, some
Sure.
skin that,
Skin in the game, man.
yeah,
That's
skin in
that's a
the
game
game.
changer.
Exactly. So we do that with our masterminds too. Everyone who comes to a mastermind, they bet a G on themselves at the end. And if on the check-in call 30 days post, if they didn't implement their number one personal and number one professional action task, then they owe their 1,000 to the pot, which is split by the other guys.
Ah,
So it's a pain in the ass, like accounting wise. My
sure.
CPA is always like, "What the heck is this, Cary?" And I'm like, "It's not income, I promise." But the point is, it's like that
But
little
it's
thing.
important.
It makes a difference. So I just urge everyone. One of the easiest things that I've ever done is create a consequence that hurts. And typically, it's like donate to the opposite political party or something like
Yeah.
that. You
Yeah,
know,
I've had to do that.
yeah, and it's just so easy. It's like, I don't want to give money there, or
Mhm.
like a cause that you despise or something.
Mhm.
And you make the amount enough that it actually hurts, and you'd be shocked what you'll accomplish.
Yeah, skin in the game, man. That is
Yeah,
so key, and I think that's missing for a lot of people.
right,
And one of the things that I think is very important, that even if there's not a financial thing, is that if you wake up tomorrow and you say, I have this goal of doing X, Y, Z, and you don't tell anybody, you're the easiest person to let down,
right.
right? Most people let themselves down all the time. But if you tell anybody, all of a sudden you're going to do more. And if you tell somebody you deeply do not want to disappoint, you'll really do a lot and follow through. And I mean, how hard is that? It doesn't cost anything to do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's very true, man. I love the topic. I think, the elimination, the preparation, the connection piece, it's a really great tactical way to break it down. Where can people go to get this book? I'm sure they're like, all right, I just need to read this thing. But where's
Yeah.
the best place?
Darksideofdiscipline.com. You'll get some extra goodies there, or go to Amazon, ebook, audiobook, paperback, hard copy. They're all there. I'm real proud of the audiobook. It's hard to do an audiobook, but it's really good. And most people go through the audiobook more than they will the real book.
Yeah, yeah, same. You're gonna love this. I recorded 5 hours of my audiobook with the wrong audio settings. My team and I have messed up the settings. So now I'm literally been stalled to see, do I need to redo that five? And we've been audio
Oh
engineers.
man, we no, I hire professional
I
people
know
because Amazon is such sticklers
they
about it.
are. They are. So the point is, if you have an author that did the audiobook, it's probably going to be amazing way to consume that content. I do recommend getting the hard copy as well, so
Yeah.
that way you can highlight and follow along with it, because I'm more of a visual learner, but I like to do both. So that's awesome. You read the audiobook. Kudos to you,
Yeah,
man.
and most people are gonna be, you can listen to the audiobook while you're doing 90,000 things, right? You can
Right,
only
right.
highlight if you're focused on the book. And so people tend to repeat listen more than they tend to repeat read, is what I've found. Because and also, if you are ever going to be an author, twice as many people buy the audiobook, according to our stats.
Yeah.
And we have 4 different books that are bestsellers, and that's what we found. It's twice as many people will buy the audiobook.
Yeah.
And they're also generally cheaper too.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now more than ever, that's
Hmm.
the format people
I think
consume.
you're getting to the point where you might not have to redo it because there's so many of these AI tools that are out now that it might be able to do it for you.
I don't disagree. I just did so many like little quirky interjections throughout that like,
Yeah.
I did like bonus things on each chapter. So it was, a lot of extra stuff that I like to
Sure.
pour in.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I digress. Let's dive into and so guys, just to repeat that link, thedarksideofdiscipline.com. You can check it out on Amazon, wherever you get books.
Hmm.
But let's dive into the rapid fire round. And
Yeah.
this is just where I like to ask random things, man. And you just answer honestly. First thing that comes to mind. And then we'll wrap this interview up. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Favorite food? Go.
I still say pizza. And I'm a pineapple on pizza.
Oh, nice. Favorite movie?
I will say.
You thought of the Notebook first, didn't you? Just say it.
Yes, it was like what manly or I can't even remember what movie it was. It was one of the Marvel movies, and Doctor Strange, I
Oh,
think is, and the only reason why I say this is because there's a scene in it near the end where it's like a personal development movie that they've inserted when
huh.
the bald lady is talking to the
I haven't
Doctor
seen it,
Strange
so
guy,
yeah.
and she says it's not about you, it never was. And it was
Uh,
like it's like this greatest like personal development. I had to like rewatch it a couple times because I'm not like a cartoon character type movie person, but
yeah.
it was just so cool to be in there.
Nice. Favorite book?
The Stand by Stephen King.
Mm. What's your spirit animal?
I would say a beaver, as I'm Canadian
Nice. Best
and
business.
very persistent.
Yeah, I love it. Best business advice.
No more good people, man.
Mm. And that's KNOW.
Yeah,
No.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get to know more good people.
Yes. Um, Happy hustle hack for your health. One thing uniquely, Craig, that you do.
So I do a 12-hour fast from dinner till the morning, and I think that is very beneficial for sleep.
Mm,
So I we have 3 kids under 3. We go to bed super early, like at
mm,
7:30 at night. So I stop eating at 4:30, which is when most people probably have lunch. But I stop eating then, and then don't eat again until 4:30 in the morning after I've been up for about an hour. And it's also good because as you get older, you have a lot of uh, gastroesophageal reflux if you eat too close to bed, and it
mm,
ruins your voice.
mm. All right. Fun fact. There you go. Yeah. Three kids under 3. I got 1 kid under 3, and it's a lot. So good
How
for you.
old?
Yeah. He's 18 months. So
Man,
yeah,
that's
beautiful.
awesome.
Yeah. I
So
love it.
he's starting to talk.
Oh yeah. He's talking, walking, kicking
Good, man.
soccer balls,
Yeah,
punching bags, all the
that's
things.
great.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, our
excellent, man.
second daughter is about the same age. She's a little precious doll, and then we have a 3-year-old girl, and then a 7-month-old boy.
Oh, nice, man. Well,
Yeah,
good thing you got that boy in there. I'm happy for
yeah,
you.
man. He's a tank too. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I love it. All right, back to the rapid fire round. Happy hustle hack for your money. Something you do, again, uniquely Craig, to either save, spend, or invest wisely.
I would say that I'll tell you what not to do is don't go around once you start making money. Don't go around throwing money into other people's businesses because that's probably like the
Hmm.
dumbest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
And I would have and otherwise just do like normal stuff. But that was the dumbest thing I ever did, and I wish I had that money back.
Yeah, I almost did that last year, literally, and I'm so glad I didn't. Yeah. Oh, good note there. All right, happy hustle hack for your spirituality. Something you do, again, uniquely Craig, to connect to a higher power.
I just wake up and I just do gratitude prayer every morning. I thank God for my wife, my kids. And when I do that, I realize that I have everything I already need, which then means I can go be more generous to other people.
Yeah, love that. 3 things you're most grateful for today.
My wife, my 3 kids, and my health, man.
Mm.
Like I made a post on January 1st or December 31st that my net worth was $5 trillion. And because you give me a trillion dollars, I wouldn't give you my wife, I wouldn't give you my three kids, I wouldn't give you my health. So I got a net worth of 5 trillion. Prove me
Love,
wrong.
yeah, prove me wrong. Love it. And then final question I like in the rapid fire round is, if you had a billboard for the world to see, Craig, what would that billboard read?
Something you said earlier. It's not about money or stuff. It's about people or experiences.
Mm,
Life is about people and experiences.
yeah. Crush that rapid fire round, Craig. And
Well,
man,
thank you very much.
yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you, brother, for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your dark side of discipline, new book, and this concept of how we can just, yeah, overcome the good to get to the great. And
Yeah.
I hope everyone dives deeper into your other stuff too, because you have a lot of you know key concepts, that like the perfect day formula, for
Mhm.
example. We didn't talk too much about it, but it really is, you sent me your stuff. It's a beautifully well done, creative piece of art, I think, with all
Thank you.
your box and your books, and how you lay it all out. So I hope everyone gets a little taste of Craig today, and wants to dive deeper. Regardless, check out the book, y'all. But thank you so much, Craig, again, for just, yeah, being on and sharing your wisdom.
Happy to hustle, man.
Yeah. Now, remind people the best place before I let you go, some of those links, like
Yeah.
maybe where you're most active online, if people do want to
Yeah,
connect.
absolutely. So hit me up on Instagram at real Craig Ballantyne. Grab the book at darksideofdiscipline.com. And I have 3 other books that you can download for free, no opt-in required, at craigballantyne.com/free books. And you get some really amazing time management books there.
Awesome, man. Love that. Tie a bow on everything we're talking about today. Just if you had to give a rallying cry to the people, the happy hustlers out there, do a summation for us.
Yeah, I think it's really important for you to future pace and think, in when you're 80 years old and you're sitting in your rocking chair and you're looking back on life, what's really going to matter?
Mm.
And then let that guide you in making the right decisions today so that you use that as your North Star and you get there.
Love that, man. All right. Final question that I ask all my guests. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Happy hustling means that you are setting up yourself for a life where you can be happy. You can be happy and hustle at the same time. And most people think that they're not one and the same. But you can have everything that you want and really live a truly great life. And the one thing that you said, the third freedom that I've never really articulated very well, is this creative freedom. And in my world, like, we use a phrase, white space. You want white space on your calendar and you want white space in your brain.
Mm,
And if you're hustling to the point where your calendar is like, it's filled up with a color for a meeting and all this stuff, and there's no white space on it, and then that way, your brain is going to be so constantly stressed out, you ain't going to be happy when you're hustling. And
mm.
so that's our version of creative freedom, is making sure that you have white space on your calendar and in your brain, and you can still be very successful because that means you're using that time to think and make big moves.
Let's go. Mic drop, y'all. Craig Ballantyne. Thank you all for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, everybody.